Imagine this. It is a quiet morning in 2026. You are sipping your coffee, scrolling through your phone, and you notice the news headlines screaming about escalating tensions in the Middle East, missiles flying between Iran, Israel, and maybe even US involvement. You think, that is over there, not here. But then you pull up your bank app to pay bills, and something hits you like a cold splash of water. Your grocery receipt from last week, up $100. Gas for the commute, another $80 more than last year. Utilities spiking because energy costs are through the roof. Add it all up, and without changing a single habit, you are staring at an extra $500 drained from your account every month. Not because you splurged, but because a war half a world away just rewrote your budget. Uncomfortable, right? But let us talk about why this is not just some distant what if. It's a chain reaction that is already starting to form, and it could land right in your wallet. Let me paint a picture of someone you might know, or maybe it's you. Take Sarah, a 28-year-old marketing coordinator in Chicago. She has a decent job, pulling in about $60,000 a year before taxes. After Uncle Sam takes his cut, plus state taxes, and those sneaky little deductions for health insurance and retirement contributions she barely understands, she's left with around $3,800 hitting her account each month. Not bad, but not luxurious either. Now her rent for a one-bedroom in a semi-decent neighborhood, that's $1,600, gone right off the top. She locked it in last year, thinking it was a steal compared to the skyrocketing prices downtown. But even that feels tight when the landlord hints at a 5% hike coming up.
Then there's the car. Sarah drives a used Honda she bought 3 years ago. Nothing fancy, just reliable wheels to get to the office and back. Maybe a weekend trip to see family. The monthly payment, $350, including interest on the loan she took out, because paying cash outright was not an option. Add in gas, which she budgets $150 for, and insurance at $120, and suddenly transportation is eating up over $600 a month. It's not like she can just walk everywhere in a city like Chicago, especially with winter winds that feel like they're trying to freeze your bones. But wait, it piles on. Student loans from her undergrad degree in communications, $25,000 originally, now down to $18,000 after chipping away for years. That's another $250 monthly. Auto-paid so she doesn't forget, but it stings every time she sees it. Credit cards. She's got 2. One for everyday stuff like groceries and coffee runs, balance hovering around $4,000 at 18% interest, so minimum payments suck up $150. The other is for emergencies. But let's be real, that new laptop for work last month pushed it to $2,500, adding $80 more. And lifestyle. It's not extravagant, but it's there. Gym membership, $50 to stay sane. Streaming services, totaling $40 for those evenings when work leaves her too drained to do much else. A few dinners out with friends, about $100 a month, just to feel connected. Throw in groceries, $400. Utilities like electric and internet, $200. And phone bill, $80. And suddenly, her $3,800 is already spoken for, with maybe $200 left for fun or savings if she's lucky. Now, shift the scene to Europe, say Marco in Berlin. Similar story, different currency, but the math still works the same. He earns 45,000 euros annually as a junior software developer. After taxes and social contributions, which are pretty heavy over there, he nets about 2,800 euros monthly. Rent for his shared flat, in a lively but still affordable district, 900 euros. Public transport is great, but he still keeps a small car for weekend escapes. Car payments and fuel together, 250 euros. Student debt is not as crushing in Germany, but he still has a 10,000 euro loan from his master's degree that costs him 150 euros a month. Credit card for online shopping and travel, balance around 3,000 euros. Monthly payments, 100 euros. Groceries, 300 euros. Utilities, 150. And gym and entertainment, 100. And once again, everything balances on a knife's edge. 2,800 euros coming in, about 2,600 going out, leaving only a thin buffer for anything unexpected.
These are not outliers. They are the norm for so many of us in our 20s and 30s, grinding through entry-level or mid-career jobs, trying to build a life while costs keep rising. But here is where the hidden flaw creeps in. The system is not just about your personal choices. It is wired to global events we often ignore. Think about it. That war in the Middle East is not just politics on TV. Iran controls key oil routes, like the Strait of Hormuz, through which about 20% of the world's oil flows. If tensions with Israel and the United States boil over into full conflict, sanctions tighten, supply lines break, or military action begins. Oil prices do not just rise a little, they surge. We've seen it before. In 1973, during the Yom Kippur War, oil prices quadrupled. In 1990, during Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, prices doubled. Fast forward to today, with Iran-backed groups already clashing and Israel striking targets, analysts are quietly warning that oil could hit $150 a barrel if tensions escalate. That's not alarmist. It's based on historical patterns. Now, how does that translate into your everyday bills? Let's break it down with simple math, no complicated spreadsheets. Start with gas. In the United States, the average price per gallon might jump from $3.50 to $5 or more if oil reaches $120 a barrel. Sarah fills her tank about twice a month, 12 gallons each time. That's 24 gallons total at $3.50 per gallon. That costs about $84. At $5 per gallon, it becomes $120. That's $36 extra every month. In Europe, where fuel is already expensive, around €1.70 per liter, a similar spike could easily add €50 to Marco's monthly fuel costs. But it doesn't stop at the gas station. Energy bills follow the same pattern. Natural gas, electricity, heating, all tied in some way to global energy markets. In the United States, the average household spends about $150 a month on utilities. If inflation pushes those costs up by 20%, that's another $30 gone. In Europe, where countries rely heavily on imported energy, that increase could easily be €40 more. And then there's food. Food production depends on fuel for farming, transportation, and packaging. If food prices rise by 10%, which is actually conservative compared to past spikes, Sarah's $400 grocery budget becomes $440, $40 more. Marco's €300 grocery bill becomes €330, €30 extra. Add transportation costs beyond your own car. Shipping fees for online orders, higher Uber rides, even airline tickets if you were planning a trip. Then come consumer goods, plastics, chemicals, and countless everyday products all derived from oil. Your monthly Amazon orders or that new pair of shoes you wanted quietly become more expensive. Credit card interest. If central banks raise rates to fight inflation, that 18% interest could creep up to 20%, adding another $10 to $20 to your monthly balance payments. Student loans with variable rates, same story. Now start tallying everything. Gas plus $36, utilities plus $30, groceries plus $40, miscellaneous goods and transportation plus $50, debt servicing plus $20. That already adds up to $176. And we are not done yet, because the biggest impact comes from overall inflation. If oil shocks from war push U.S. inflation to 5 or 7% instead of the normal 2 to 3% target, everything begins to compound. Rent renewals start reflecting those increases. Sarah's $1,600 apartment could jump another $80. Car insurance, which depends on repair and parts costs, could rise by $20 more. Even streaming services quietly slip in price increases. Push the scenario further. Supply chain disruptions create shortages. Shortages drive prices higher, and suddenly the total increase across your monthly life becomes $300, maybe even $500 more by 2026. Not from one single bill, but from 1,000 small cuts. So why do most of us never see this coming? It is not stupidity, it is psychology. Humans are wired with something called normalcy bias, the tendency to believe tomorrow will look almost exactly like today. Wars happen somewhere else. Oil prices move up and down, but eventually they settle. It feels comforting. It allows us to plan life without constant anxiety. Then there's another mental shortcut called the availability heuristic. We remember the last crisis because it faded away, but we struggle to imagine the next one before it arrives. And in a world filled with endless distractions, social media, work deadlines, family responsibilities, geopolitics feels distant, abstract, easy to ignore. Sarah scrolls past a headline about the Middle East and focuses on her next marketing deadline. Marco does the same, thinking about his next software release. We are not ignoring these events on purpose. Our brains are simply designed to prioritize the immediate, the tangible, the threat directly in front of us. It's the same survival instinct our ancestors relied on. Deal with the lion in front of you, not the storm gathering on the horizon.
And the problem begins to snowball. That extra $500 every month turns into $6,000 gone over a single year. If you are someone like Sarah, already living close to the edge, you start leaning on credit cards just a little more each month. Interest compounds quietly, and that $4,000 balance becomes $6,000 within 2 years. Savings? What savings? Your emergency fund slowly disappears. So when the car breaks or the job market tightens, which often happens during global conflicts, you are forced to borrow again at even higher interest rates. Fast forward 5 years, maybe you skipped retirement contributions just to stay afloat. $10,000 not invested at a 7% annual return could mean a $50,000 shortfall by the time you reach 60. Home ownership gets delayed. The down payment you were building slowly eaten away by rising bills. It is not dramatic collapse, it's a quiet erosion, where you wake up at 40 and wonder why some of your peers seem to be so far ahead while you're still renting, still paying off old debt, still trying to catch up. In Europe, a similar story unfolds, but with another twist: currency fluctuations. If the euro weakens against the dollar, imported goods become more expensive, which amplifies inflation even further. But now let's shift gears, because some people navigate this differently, and they're not superheroes. They simply think in layers. They see personal finance not as isolated numbers, but part of a larger system. Instead of assuming stability, they build flexibility into their mindset. Imagine someone like that. They watch headlines, not for panic, but for signals. Oil tensions rising? Maybe it's time to review the budget. They don't rush to buy gold or quit their job. They simply question their defaults. Do I really need this car payment? Or could public transportation free up $300 each month? They treat debt differently, not as something inevitable, but as a tool. High-interest debt gets eliminated first, even if it means temporarily cutting small luxuries. Psychologically, they accept uncertainty. Global events happen, and their financial plan accounts for that reality. That's why they maintain a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, not as a clever trick, but as peace of mind. Their investments are diversified, some growth assets, some stable assets that hold value during inflationary periods. But the real difference is mindset. They understand that compounding works both ways. It can build wealth or slowly destroy it. So they live slightly below their means, not because they're afraid, but because they're clear. Clear that a $500 shock is manageable if you aren't already stretched to the limit. It's a form of rational detachment, observing the system without blindly fighting it. In the end, this is not about predicting every crisis. It's about understanding how deeply interconnected our personal finances are with the rest of the world. A war in the Middle East might never reach your doorstep, but it can quietly reshape your monthly cash flow. Awareness like this doesn't solve everything, but it sharpens your perspective and helps you move through the future with your eyes open.
If this conversation resonated with you, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.